All right, so we're diving deep into Honda today, and I gotta say, the stuff you've dug up has been really interesting. It's like we've got a real mix here. Reviews of the new Civic Si, some background on the company's beginnings back in post-war Japan.
Yeah.
Even some stuff about how they approach manufacturing completely differently.
It's about their whole philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. So to get us rolling, let's start with that new Civic Si. That the Topher review on YouTube really got my attention, the way he was talking about the handling and that manual transmission. He even said it's just about perfect.
And when the Topher says a car is just about perfect, it's got to be good.
Right. And that gets to the heart of Honda. Their attention to detail, that reputation for top-notch engineering, and the way they work with suppliers. It's not just about telling them what to do. It's more about collaborating to build something incredible.
You're absolutely right. It's like they're all on the same team working towards a common goal. And you can trace that all the way back to Soichiro Honda, the company's founder. That video, how a poor Japanese boy created Honda, really shows how determined he was. And for a company that does what? Lawnmowers, jets, everything.
Right.
Why piston rings? Expert speaker, help me out here.
Okay, well, this is actually a really good place to start. Because those piston rings, early on, that was a make or break for Soichiro Honda.
Really?
I mean, picture this. Toyota, giant company now, right? Back then, they rejected his designs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this forced him back to the books, literally like metallurgy textbooks, spending hours on factory floors watching how it's done.
So it wasn't just about the rings then, it was how he learned.
Exactly. There's this phrase, go to the spot, which is at the heart of Honda. Soichiro, he believed you got to see it firsthand, get your hands dirty, that's how you really understand. And it wasn't like he was just a natural. This was grit, pushing through.
It's funny, when you hear about these big names in any field, you think, oh, they were meant for this. But Soichiro Honda sounds like he had his share of setbacks.
Oh, for sure. I mean, those early hiccups with the piston rings, they weren't just a blip. They formed how Honda approaches innovation.
Yeah.
Embracing those missteps, figuring out what went wrong, coming out stronger.
And speaking of innovation, one source you sent, it told the story about Soichiro Honda and his wife, Sachi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, after the war, he rigged this tiny engine onto her bicycle because she was struggling to get rice to market.
Wow.
It wasn't some big business plan or anything, just, a husband helping out.
That's so Honda, though. Just to the Honda Super Cub, the motorcycle that really put them on the map. I mean, the Make Fix Engineer video did a great job of highlighting how innovative the design was, particularly in the context of post-war Japan.
Resources were scarce back then. People needed transportation that was affordable and dependable. And the Super Cub, with how simple the design was, its fuel efficiency, and the fact that it was so easy to maintain, wasn't just a vehicle, it was a lifeline.
And it's incredible how far they'd go to keep customers happy. There's that story about the faulty clutch. Instead of issuing a recall, Honda employees, even Soichiro Honda himself, spent a whole week going door to door personally fixing them.
That's dedication for you. A perfect illustration of how deeply rooted the company's values are. They could have chosen the easy route, but they went above and beyond to build trust and loyalty by taking direct action.
It wasn't just a business transaction. It was about creating a lasting bond with customers.
Precisely. And, that focus on what customers need goes even deeper. It's woven into the company's culture with this concept called Waigaya.
Oh, yeah, Waigaya. The excerpts you shared make it sound kind of intense, like a room full of engineers, salespeople, everyone crammed in there, passionately debating every single detail.
That's exactly what it's all about. It's like organized chaos, but it's their way of sparking innovation. By fostering an environment where everyone feels comfortable challenging assumptions no matter their position in the company, it's not about who's in charge. It's about getting the best ideas out in the open. Like that thing with the Acura TL's wheels.
Yeah.
The main designer wanted bigger ones, but some people were worried about the cost and how it might affect the car's performance. Even the vice president wasn't so sure.
But then they had this Waigaya session.
Right, and even though there were some pretty strong opinions flying around in the end, they decided to go with the bigger wheels. And it wasn't because someone higher up forced it, it was because everyone agreed it was the best choice for the car as a whole.
So even though it seems kind of chaotic on the surface, Waigaya actually leads to decisions that are really well thought out.
And it creates this environment where everyone's encouraged to constantly look for ways to improve things. From the factory workers to the designers, everyone feels empowered to speak up and challenge how things are done.
It's kind of like they've turned conflict into a positive thing, a way to drive innovation.
Precisely. And this concept of Waigaya, it's not just some random management trick. It's deeply connected to Soichiro Honda's own personal philosophy, the three joys. The joy of producing, the joy of selling, selling and the joy of buying.
Yeah, at first glance, they sound kind of basic, like something you'd see on a motivational poster. But the more you dig into them, the more you realize how important they are to everything Honda does. The passion of the engineers, the way salespeople guide customers toward what they'll love, and finally the customer ending up with something they truly enjoy.
You got it. And here's the thing, Honda doesn't just talk the talk, they actually live by these principles. Take their hiring process, for example. Remember that story about Sam Fluker, the former Marine?
Oh yeah, he definitely didn't fit the usual mold you'd expect.
But when they interviewed him, his answers showed that he could think critically, solve problems on his own, and tackle challenges from a different angle. And those qualities, those are what Honda truly values more than a traditional resume. They're not looking for people who just follow orders. They want people with passion and curiosity, people who aren't afraid to shake things up.
It's like they're searching for that same spark that Soichiro Honda had in every person they hire that drive that dedication to being the best. Which reminds me of another interesting aspect of Honda's approach, Sangen-shugi, which basically means going to the spot.
Sangen-shugi. Exactly. It's all about getting first-hand experience, really understanding a problem by immersing yourself in it instead of just thinking about it theoretically. How many companies out there actually encourage their employees to get out of the office and into the real world?
And Honda takes it a step further. I mean, we've all heard about the Honda Ridgeline's tailgate, haven't we?
The one that has 2 ways of opening. It's pure genius.
And it all came about because the engineer in charge of designing it was at Home Depot watching people struggle with their truck tailgates.
Yeah.
Just that simple act of observing sparked an idea that completely revolutionized tailgate design. You know, it reminds me of those old "You Meet the Nicest People on a Honda" ads. They weren't just trying to sell motorcycles. They were tapping into this whole idea of freedom, exploration, and really experiencing life.
Absolutely. It reflects Honda's wider vision of mobility.
Which brings us to some of their projects that go beyond just making cars, like the Asimo robot, for example. And then there's that green home initiative they have going on in California. These projects feel so futuristic. There's one more thing about Honda that really stands out to me, especially these days. Their commitment to actually making things. You know, in a world that's so focused on the digital, the intangible, Honda's focus on the tangible, on actually building stuff.
Yeah.
It feels almost rebellious.
It's like they've gone back to their roots, back to Soichiro Honda tinkering away in his workshop. And honestly, in a world of fleeting trends, there's something really refreshing about that dedication to craftsmanship, to the physical act of creation. There's a sense of satisfaction, a feeling of pride that comes from building something real, from taking an idea and making it tangible. It's just something the digital world, with all its advancements, can't quite replicate.
It's true. There's a soul to it, a connection between the creator and the creation. You can't really put it into words, but you know it when you see it. And I think that's part of what makes Honda so unique. They haven't lost sight of that soul.
It all comes back to that willingness to challenge the norm, to not shy away from things that are difficult or unconventional. Their whole story, from those early struggles to becoming this global powerhouse, it's a testament to that spirit.
Funny thing is, Soichiro Honda himself said, success is 99% failure. Yet here they are, this global giant built on embracing challenges, learning from their mistakes, and never letting go of the joy of creating something amazing. This deep dive into Honda has been really eye-opening. It's about so much more than just cars.